First, I created a folder named Arduino temp, and I also made a file named Arduino temp.eno with the same name as the folder. When you create a new sketch in the original Arduino IDE, the setup and loop functions are included by default. However, if you create an INO file to write Arduino related code in VSCode, the file will be empty like this. So, entering the setup and loop can be cumbersome. But let me show you how you can just type a few characters and have the setup and loop entered immediately. This is a feature called Snippet Code. First, please go to your web browser and navigate to this address. If you go to the Snippet Generator app, it's a site that generates snippets for you. Now, let's go back to what I previously explained about the setup and loop. Let's try entering the setup and loop as we did previously. We will write void setup and void loop in the code, and then I will proceed to copy the code into the program, ensuring everything is correct. Copy it and move back. Here, then paste it into the snippet. For the explanation, I will just type SL, since it's a setup, and loop, so it can be entered directly. In this state, the copy snippet option will appear. Click on it to copy, and then open the palette menu in VS Code. If you type user snippet, you will see an option called configure user snippets. Here, if you enter it, normally well-known programming languages would appear in the list, but Arduino is not included. Since it doesn't exist, you need to create a new one. If you select New Global Snippet File and type eno, it will be formatted like this, with comments inside. You should delete the comment section and paste the snippet code you just copied here. Now, if you delete this and reopen it, it will be empty. In this state, if you type SL, the snippet for setup and loop will appear. Then, if you just type SL, the setup and loop will be entered immediately. If you often use serial communication when working on that project, you usually write the code like serial.begin 9600 and while write. For example, in your code, you might write serial.begin 9600 and while write. If you want to set this code as a snippet in advance, you can copy it and paste it into your code here. Then copy it again. And since you just added the eno in the configure user snippet, it should be there. Instead of just set on loop, you can insert it. Here, save it, and when you type SLS, you can immediately input it as a code snippet. This process allows you to streamline your coding workflow by having reusable code snippets readily available. For example, if you frequently use a specific piece of code, setting it as a snippet saves time and ensures consistency. Additionally, by configuring user snippets, you can customize your coding environment to better suit your needs. This method is particularly useful for repetitive tasks or commonly used functions, making your coding experience more efficient and organized. Remember, the key is to save the snippet correctly and use the designated shortcut, like SLS, to quickly insert it whenever needed. If you want to set the baud rate to something other than 9600, each time you can select Shop 1 here and change it, which will overwrite configure user snippet eno. This is particularly useful if you have specific requirements for your project or if you need to ensure compatibility with other devices. By adjusting the baud rate, you can optimize the communication speed and reliability of your system. Make sure to save your changes to avoid having to reconfigure it each time. If you simply type SLS, the cursor will just move to the beginning section here. Then you can enter approximately a lem 5200 here. You can create snippets like this, and in my case, I use snippets for entering macro constants or setting up digital inputs and outputs So, if you create snippets for things you use frequently, it becomes quite convenient. This time we explored the snippet code feature in VSCode. Honestly, while I explained this in relation to Arduino, the same functionality can be used by those working with JavaScript or Python. If you have code that you frequently input, you can create it as a snippet, which can save you a significant amount of time. Well then, I'll see you next time. I'll see you.